Hello, I'm Joe Gimenez, and I'm going to walk you through the President's Report for the operations of the Windermere Water Supply Corporation in 2021. This presentation will be given at the annual meeting on March 19th, 2022. The two men you see here are George Burris and Tommy Collier. George, of course, runs Water Management, Inc., who the Water Supply Corporation contracts with for its water operations. And then George contracts with Corks Utilities for the 24/7 monitoring and management of operations of our plant. George and Tommy together have done a great job for our neighborhood water corporation. Last year, we received perfect results from testing by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality for state and federal water quality standards. If you go to the website wowsc.org/water quality report, you will find our latest water quality report and all of the testing that took place. And you'll see in the column that I've indicated that there were no violations. And this is a document is several pages long. It's also posted at the pavilion. In 2021, the company benefited greatly from the generator that the company had installed in 2020. The generator ran perfectly during the winter storm that occurred in February of 2021. We were one of the few water companies in the area that had running water. And if you want to go and hear what a generator sounds like, please look at the video that's indicated. That was when we first installed the generator in 2020, and we're working through some testing of its operations. So again, it saved us and is there for future need in case we ever have another storm like we did. In 2020, the Water Corporation applied for $650,000 in loan money from CoBank, which provides water companies like ours with very, very favorable financing options in the 3% range. So we had accepted in 2020 $350,000 to pay off a previous loan, and then also to add $150,000 for infrastructure needs. At the time in 2020, we voted to also accept $300,000, but we waited on that because we didn't have immediate need for it. In 2021, our plans came together for the clarifier, which I'll talk about in a minute, and we went ahead and ratified in 2021 the vote that we'd already taken in 2020 about the loan. The loan terms were 3.75% for 20 years, and that's a very good rate. Obviously, looking back, it was perfect because interest rates have gone up since then. In 2021, I explained in my President's Report how the clarifier needed replacement at our plant. The current clarifier was actually never really meant to be a clarifier, but as we have over the last 20 years, different boards have kind of cobbled together with George different solutions. This is the clarifier that's there. Unfortunately, it's not big enough, and we have been working for several years now to find solutions that were cost efficient and would meet our needs. In 2021, we had hoped to have our new clarifier installed, but then plans changed and we were able to think about some ways to save some money and add storage. So what we did was we took a look around and we said, you know, we've got enough room in our facility to add a new storage tank. And we went ahead with those plans to add the storage tank, and just recently completed forms and concrete for the new storage tank. So what we were going to do, or what we are going to do, is take our old storage tank and convert that to a clarifier system. That's our storage tank on the left, and of course on the right is going to be where the new storage tank is. But on the one that's on the left, what we'll do is add a fly bridge over the top of that. Now the fly bridge is pretty expensive. It's, you know, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. It's a lot of steel and welding, etc. And a water corporation in Granite Shoals basically told us that they have an old fly bridge that they would give to us if we removed it from their property. And so what we're going to do now is just take that fly bridge and attach it to the storage tank that you see on the left. Now that's going to take some retrofitting, etc., but it saves a lot of money, and we'll use the existing clarifier until that conversion occurs. So basically, if you come to the plant at some point, you will see two storage tanks somewhat like that, side by side, providing us clarified and then stored water. At last year's annual meeting, we also described programs that we're putting in place to examine and study the zebra mussel problem and its impact on our facility. Zebra mussels are little mollusks. They latch onto our pipes and equipment, and they make things bad for our ability to pull water from the lake and get it to our plant. So on April 7th of last year, George asked me to go on a boat trip to the barge, and we did that as a way to inspect our pumps and to compare the pumps with and without some copper screening that they'd put on, and basically to establish a baseline with some pictures of, you know, what is occurring. So Pat Ross, who a lot of people know from his work on the marinas, took us out, and that fellow there is Brandon, and they're hopping onto the barge right now. I'm not going to go through everything that happened here. We're going to go through, but what did happen was they pulled up one of the pipes to take a look at the infestation. And here you can start to see where all the zebra mussels that are on that pipe. It's pretty dramatic. The main thing, though, is what is happening on the inside of the pipe. And what we did was they opened up one of these connections between the pumps and the pipes up the hill to our water plant. They opened this up and took a look at the inside to see what the growth was, the growth of the zebra mussels. And you can see, yes, they are growing in there, and that's not good. So we need to do some various filtration and other methods to reduce that infestation. At one point, we thought that a filtration system out of Israel would be appropriate to our system. Problem was that it was very expensive. It would have cost, I think, $80,000 for, to get those filters and install them. And I think George actually said we needed two of those, so it would have been $160,000. Instead, George has found some other filter systems that come from a company in California, and they're going to cost, I don't know, somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 a piece with installation involved. So that's obviously a big savings. And here, just the other day, we were doing a test, or George was doing a test of some other filters that we'd put in to monitor what the decreased flow to the pumps might be if we put these other filters in. So there you can see a filter that was run about 8 hours, and it was very stinky. George is being brave there, because you could smell that filtration when you walked into that room. And here you can see the dirt that's accumulated in those filters just from 8 hours of runtime. So the key is that these new filtration systems will be self-cleaning. They'll be attached at that barge and self-cleaning. So we are very excited about the new opportunity. It saves a lot of money, and we think it will be effective. Every year, our boards create with George a 5-year plan, and we have done pretty well the last few years of clicking off some of these items. Last year, of course, you no longer see the generator on here because we finished that off last year and in 2020. So we last year said, well, we need to do a new clarifier, and we've worked on that, as you've seen, and it should be finished this year. The next project was a water treatment plant recycling project, and it also was the wastewater plant recycling project. So we had two projects that cost about they cost $48,000 to our corporation, but because we received a $14,000 grant from the LCRA, that price was reduced to $34,000. That is saving us money from here on out, because we were previously using some processed water that are treated and run through the different processes and have a cost to it, and we were able now to save that water and reduce less use of our own water for those processes. So we're going to put a check mark by that. We talked about the zebra mussels and some of the things that we're doing with filtering systems. We do think that that cost is going to be reduced to $30,000 or so in 2021. And so we're working on probably getting those orders in here in the next month or so. And once again, this is a 2022 project because we wanted to do some upfront work. The irrigation field that we're expansion was supposed to occur in 2022. We actually have some new developments in that, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But we're putting that on hold while we get the clarifier and zebra mussel mitigation system installed and in place, and we will work on the irrigation field expansion probably starting sometime at the end of this year and into next year. And we've also had this distribution system valve replacement program for 2024. And that's going to be, we'll see where we are, at that time, but we don't need it now. The problem that we have with valves are that they are old and they give out around the neighborhood. So some of you in your houses may be experiencing that. I know I am. What's coming more and more to our attention are new business opportunities, and by that I mean we are getting proposals from different places around the the neighborhood, if you will, of Spicewood about our water system. And so in coming board meetings, we're going to be talking with people at Ridge Harbor, and then there's a new development that's coming in to the west of us that's approaching us for water. And then if you go across the county road there, as you come out of Windermere and out of Exeter and look right across the way there's some development going on there where we're being asked to supply some water. So that's good, because more water sold means more customers, means that water rates we can have more revenue and do more of these projects at less cost to our existing base of 271 members. So I'd like to talk just real briefly about a project that we undertook earlier this year, or actually, late last year. It wasn't on the 5-year plan, but it's something that we promised to members, and last year we delivered. Dorothy Taylor dug into a e-payments solution for our members who have been asking for some way to pay other than writing a check. A lot of members don't even have checkbooks anymore, or only had them to write a check to the corporation. And so Dorothy dug into the nuts and bolts of the e-payments system. with our billing manager, Lori Lynn Cantrell, and they came up with a way to do this. And so at the September 30, 2021 board meeting, we approved an e-payment solution, and we discussed e-billing. And then recently you all saw in your ballot packets some information from Paystar about setting up your e-payment system. So we're really excited about that. And we have, I don't know, 30 or 40 members now already using that. And we hope that more, if they would like to, can use it. Not to be undone by herself, Dorothy has in recent weeks looked at e-billing, which means that we will enable a solution for customers to look at their billing statements online or receiving bills online, and we will communicate with you all about all of this, because there are a few a few wrinkles. After this meeting, in fact, we're going to have another board meeting where we will talk about approving the Paystar e-billing solution that Dorothy came up with. This is what it might look like. This is just a sample of what the page might look like when you receive it in your email. But I think we're going to have members opt into the system, setting up their own account, because that's what the law requires. So be looking for that, and thank you, Dorothy. The main question that I've received over the last several months, of course, is when will our water bills decrease? Everybody here knows that the water bills had to increase in 2020 because of several lawsuits that had been filed against the corporation. So I wanted to go over the status of those lawsuits very quickly. We have a lot of new members, and so I wanted to go do a little background. I think we've got about 30 new members, in fact. So we wanted to do a little bit of background for them. In 2018, a case was filed against the corporation alleging that a violation of an open meeting law occurred, and that therefore a land sale that had occurred in 2015 was not valid. The judge in that case ordered that yes, there was a violation because an agenda item was not added appropriately to a agenda for a meeting, but that the plaintiffs, the people who sued us, who were called Toma Integrity, did not have any basis for their other prayers for relief, the remedies that they sought, including $100,000 from the corporation and voiding of the land sale. So that was denied, and that was upheld all the way through the Texas Supreme Court. That cost the corporation about $80,000 to defend itself in that case. So after that case was resolved, the plaintiffs, Renee French, John Richard Dahl, and Stuart Bruce Sorgan, acting as representatives for the Water Supply Corporation, decided to sue the corporation and Friendship Homes and Hangars and its directors, former directors. In November and December of that year, they expanded their lawsuit to add several current board members at the time. So that was the lawsuit. They contended that the board, all of those board members, had conducted themselves in inappropriate ways. And after 50 or 60 hours of depositions, discovery, boxes and boxes of discovery turned over, and a lot of legal proceedings in between, our corporation, on behalf of the directors, submitted a motion for summary judgment, basically exonerating or attempting to exonerate all of the board directors that had been implicated by the plaintiffs. And on May 3rd of last year, they were all exonerated except for one, Dana Martin, who was an interested director in the land transaction of 2015. So what does all that mean? It simply means that the plaintiffs had created a theory for which they had received a lot of information and facts and tape recordings and financials reaching back to 2010, and yet there was not a single fact in any of those recordings, etc., any of that discovery and depositions that would pass the high burden of proof that they needed to continue the case against any of the former directors, except for one. And that case is going to be tried in August, I think August 22nd of this year at the Burnett County Courthouse. And we will be hearing more about that. But the good news about the May 3rd take nothing order of Judge Mirabal was simply that all of the legal proceedings against all of those other directors stopped. Now, the plaintiffs may still appeal that judge's decision, but we'll see. That's up to them. But right now, those costs, just abruptly, stopped, and so that was great for the corporation. So, because of the lawsuit for over 3 years, we had costs of $310,000 for the directors, for the defense of the directors, and $321,000 in legal costs for the corporation. Because they had sued the corporation and former directors, both the corporation and the former directors needed separate legal representation. Now, because of the way the state laws are written, and because of the judgment in favor of the directors, the corporation must pay the director's defense. That is a state law that volunteer directors who are found innocent of any egregious, violation or criminal activity, the corporation has to pay those fees. It's not an arbitrary decision of the board. It's a state law. So now I have some good news, some very good news. The corporation has directors and officers insurance. And in 2021, we took the insurance company that was denying us payment of that insurance coverage, we took them to court in federal district court. And just recently as February 8th, and then again reaffirmed on February 24th, we won. And what the court said was basically that the Allied World Specialty Insurance has a obligation and duty to pay us all of the fees that were expended in defense of the directors. And the insurance company must also pay some interest on the payments that we'd made, and the insurance company must also pay for our filing of the insurance case. So it was a big win. In 2021 and 22, we've spent about $63,000 for pursuing the case to get that money from the insurance company. And like I said, the good news is we will get all of that money back and any other monies that are spent going forward. So what that means too is that we don't have that money in hand, and that's one of the problems with this whole situation, is that it's an order, but the insurance company has some rights, and I'm going to talk about that now. So the insurance has some rights to appeal that decision. Obviously, it's a very expensive decision to the insurance company. It could be as much as $400,000 or more to that insurance company. So they might appeal this decision against them to the Fifth Circuit. We believe that if it goes to the Fifth Circuit, we have a very good chance of prevailing even there. But what happens if we finally prevail after the appeal? Like I said, the company may recover as much as $400,000 plus all future costs for directors' defense related to that 48292 case. The company then can pay $90,000 to the Enoch Keever law firm, which represented the directors, and $200,000 to Lloyd Gosling. So we would be basically paid up with all of our law firms from that money, and we might actually have a little bit of extra money. Look, I'm just talking right now. This is all brand new developments, which I wanted our members to know at this annual meeting. Like I said, this all occurred in February. The board has not talked about these contingencies because, first of all, they're not final. And we don't want to waste our time talking about what if, this and that. But I can, at least in this presentation to the members. And like I said, all insurance attorney costs are covered. So that case that we filed to get the insurance settlement is paid for as well by the insurance company because we prevailed. That's how those laws are written. So what does this mean? Ideally, if all of this comes to fruition, we could reduce the 2020 rate increase back. We could go down, $50, $65 a month, based on what right now seems like a very favorable decision for the Water Corporation. Look, I don't know that that's going to happen. So please understand that I'm speaking hypothetically. I'm speaking with optimism because of the settlement or the judgment in our favor by the judge in the insurance case. Complicating the board's decisions will be the current status of the Public Utility Commission ruling on a rate protest that was initiated by ratepayers in 2020. So in 2020, a group of people signed a petition that put a case forward to the Public Utility Commission of Texas about the rates that were raised in 2020. So that has proceeded over the last 2 years with many motions by both parties going back and forth between judges and the staff of the Public Utility Commission. And that concluded in February of just a few weeks ago, in February of this year. Right now, the parties, meaning the Water Corporation and the ratepayers representatives, they're waiting on what's called a proposal for decision that will come from the administrative law judges. And the administrative law judges will weigh the evidence that was presented in each party's briefs. They were presented in briefs from the Water Corporation, the ratepayers, and the staff of the Public Utility Commission. So the ALJs, the administrative law judges, will issue a decision on the contested issues. And the parties will have an opportunity to respond to that proposal for decision in writing before it's taken up by the Public Utility Commissioners themselves. And those Public Utility Commissioners can then vote on whether to accept the proposal for decision, or they can, if they might disagree with the administrative law judge's decision, and change it. We just don't know what all of that looks like, because as of this recording, no judgments have been issued or no proposals for decision have been issued. But just to summarize, the Public Utilities Commission staff has recommended that the water company not include outside legal expenses in rates, and that the utility should issue refunds to ratepayers if the commission adopts that position. The water company has stated on the record that it cannot afford to issue refunds and credits if that becomes the administrative law judge's recommendation. in some, we just don't know the outcome of any of the issues that were presented to the judges. We won't know, we won't know that, and we won't know how it all fares out or plays out until the commission acts on those decisions. So we expect that we will have a proposal for decision issued in the next few weeks. We'll have some time to, review that and respond. And, it could take weeks or months for that to actually work its way through the decision-making process. So, in a nutshell, we just don't know what's going to happen with the order from the rates, and we probably will not be able to do anything in terms of lowering the rates, like I'd said, until some of this Public Utility Commission work plays itself out. So what a lot of people don't understand about a rate protest hearing is that it's like a court case. There's discovery, there are motions about what evidence can and can't be submitted. There are motions made about people's ability to testify. There are all sorts of things that go back and forth between the different parties, not only between the ratepayer representatives and the Water Corporation, but also between the Public Utility Commission staff and the parties. And the parties actually benefit, the ratepayers benefit from the staff, adding a further level of review to everything that they find in the documents from the corporation. So there's been a thorough examination of the corporation's practices, and which I think our members can feel confident about. Of course, there's cost. There has been cost involved in the corporation's defense of its prior rates. That cost has been $300,000, and it will go up in coming months as the proposal for decision is made and discussed. At that, the one thing that we do know is that the $300,000 will be paid for by ratepayers. We have 287 memberships, and so that $300,000 will be divided up amongst the members, and that amount is not protestable. In other words, that's state law, that's how it's got to be handled. So our rates will have to adjust somehow to pay for those costs. One proposal is that those costs would be divvied up amongst 287 members over 24 months. And that comes up to about $38 per month for an increase in rates. If we stretch it out to 36 months, or if the court stretches that out to 36 months, that would be a $29 a month increase just to pay those legal costs. So I think the takeaway from this is simply that every time a legal proceeding is filed against the corporation has to defend itself, and it has to pay for it with attorneys. We as a water corporation don't have control of when our members sue us or take us to the Public Utility Commission. Once they initiate those processes, the corporation has to decide, what to do, and it just can't immediately, unilaterally decide to end those processes, because that's not in our power. It's the power of the people who, are initiating those lawsuits. So it's unfortunate, but that's how it happens. If this were a larger utility, if we had 10,000 memberships instead of 300 memberships or 287 memberships, the cost per member would go down tremendously. It might be, $5 or $10 a month, or just, something much, much lower, a few dollars a month, and you would hardly notice it. But because we're so small, all of these legal costs have a overweighting to the size of the corporation. And we, unfortunately can't do anything about, how and when people decide to sue us. So, as a quick summary of this report, I think things are proceeding on a very good path going forward. Our clarifier and storage tank solution is saving us money. It will accommodate growth of the neighborhood going forward. Our zebra mussel solutions are still being worked out, but we think that we have a good plan for a cost-effective solution that protects our equipment. We continue to receive interest from nearby communities that are developing and needing agreements, needing some sort of service from us one way or another. We continue to prevail in court in terms of successful defense of directors who have been found to not have violated any laws or all of the alleged misconduct that some people believe. There is one case outstanding that will be decided at trial in August, and that case, we will certainly let you all know when, what happens there. We do, however, have going forward, because we prevailed in our case against the insurance company, we have great hope that a lot of our financial problems have been solved because we took the insurance company to court and prevailed. So the only outstanding issue is what the Public Utility Commission decides. We wish that all of these ifs, ands, or buts kind of situations were resolved at this point, but they're not, and the board will be working on resolving them going forward as the cases come to conclusion. So with that, I think I'm going to conclude this report. At the annual meeting, we will have more discussion from George and our treasurer about some of the financials and other operational issues that they believe important. But for now, I think that this provides a good overview of our current situation and condition. And because of the insurance company decision or the insurance case decision, I'm very hopeful that rates will be reduced at some point in the future.